you think you are free? Think carefully before answering. You wake up, and the first thing you do is grab your phone. You scroll, searching for something new, something to distract you. Then maybe a coffee, a dose of dopamine, a video, a song to relieve the boredom on your way to work or school. More stimuli, podcasts, social media, notifications. And when you finally have a moment of silence, discomfort rises, a strange emptiness, a feeling that sends you searching again for distraction, for pleasure. The problem isn't pleasure. Pleasure is a tool, a mechanism that kept us alive. But what happens when that tool becomes the cage? When the need to feel good all the time makes you a slave to the next high? Aldous Huxley saw it coming. While Orwell warned us of a future ruled by fear, Huxley envisioned something more terrifying. A world where no one needed to be forced to obey, where entertainment was so constant, so overwhelming, that rebellion never even occurred to you. Slavery without chains, servitude without pain. A world where people love their submission. Now look around. A society obsessed with pleasure, endless consumption, a screen for every discomfort, a fix for every flicker of sadness. But is this really freedom? Or have you mistaken the cage for comfort? You think you're in control, but maybe you never were. Perfect slavery doesn't need chains. It doesn't need threats or surveillance. It just needs one thing: pleasure. When pleasure becomes the center of your existence, servitude disguises itself as freedom. This was Huxley's warning. Imagine a world where no one questions anything, because they are constantly entertained. Where meaning is replaced by cheap distractions. Where pleasure isn't a choice, but an obligation. In Brave New World, people were conditioned from birth to avoid discomfort. Every flicker of unease was numbed. Every existential doubt silenced by soma. A perfect drug, with no side effects, no questions, no soul. It sounds like fiction, but look again. When you feel bored, frustrated, or sad, do you pause and feel it? Or do you scroll? Do you consume? Social media, food, porn, alcohol, shopping, games, a world of instant gratification, discomfort smothered in seconds. You never have to face the void. Just fill it, again and again. And the most dangerous part? It all feels like your choice. No one's forcing you. No one's holding a gun to your head. But if it's a choice, why can't you stop? The answer is simple. You've been conditioned. You've been trained to run, not from danger, but from discomfort. From the moment you were born, you were conditioned to avoid silence, to avoid boredom, to avoid thinking too much. School didn't teach you to reflect. It taught you to obey, to memorize, to perform. The job market shaped you to produce, not to pause, not to question, not to feel. And entertainment? It filled the rest. You're not censored. You're distracted. You're not forbidden from speaking. You just never think to. Huxley saw this. In Brave New World, no one needed to be silenced, because no one had anything to say. They were taught to love their own slavery, fed ideas while they slept. Repetition, reinforcement. Everyone belongs to everyone. A gram of soma solves everything. They didn't rebel. They smiled, because they believed. There was nothing to rebel against. And look around now. Do you see it? Not Hypnopedia, but algorithms. Endless scrolling. Endless stimuli. Endless noise. Every notification a drip of dopamine. Every like a pacifier. Every shortcut Another step away from your mind. You're not choosing pleasure. You're escaping yourself. And each time you do, you reinforce the trap. Until thinking hurts. Until silence terrifies you. Imagine a world without pain. No sadness. No frustration. No anxiety. Sounds like paradise, doesn't it? But now look closer. What happens to someone who never struggles, who never endures? They weaken. They soften. They become dependent. In Huxley's world, Soma erased all discomfort. No side effects. No risk. Just endless doses of numbness disguised as joy. No one learned to face themselves. They didn't need to, because discomfort was eliminated. Now look again. We may not have Soma, but we have its digital descendants. Social media, dating apps, instant food, streaming platforms, each one promising no rejection, no silence, no effort. But the cost? We forget how to endure, how to grow, how to sit with pain and learn from it. We chase only what's easy, only what's pleasurable, and anything that demands patience, anything that dares to challenge us, we discard. So what does that make us? Not free, but fragile. And fragile people are easy to manage. They fear discomfort. They crave relief. They obey quietly, not because they are weak, but because they've been trained to be. Now ask yourself, are you building something meaningful, or just numbing something painful? We're taught that happiness is the goal, but is it? Or is that just another product we've been sold? Endless scrolling, endless likes, endless pleasure, but also endless emptiness, because pleasure fades, and when it does, you chase again, and again, and again. But meaning? Meaning stays. Think about the moments that shaped you, that broke you, and built you. Were they easy? Were they comfortable? Or were they forged in struggle, effort, and resilience? Viktor Frankl survived horror, not by chasing pleasure, but by holding on to purpose. He saw that humans can survive almost anything if they believe it matters. Purpose asks more from you, but it gives more too. It doesn't sedate. It strengthens. It roots you. So why doesn't society teach this? Because people with purpose don't buy as much, don't scroll as much, don't obey as easily. They can't be sold happiness because they've already found meaning. And that kind of person can't be controlled. And that's why you were trained to avoid meaning. Because meaning takes time, discipline, stillness, and none of those generate profit. You were raised in a world that profits off your emptiness, then sells you distractions to soothe it. You don't need more pleasure. You need less noise. Not more scrolling, but silence. Not more dopamine, but direction. Because when you start asking, what truly matters to me? What do I want to build? Why am I even here? You don't just unplug from the matrix. You threaten it. That's why the world keeps you busy, entertained, addicted. Not to destroy you, but to keep you manageable. Because if you ever stopped, if you ever stood still long enough to really feel, you'd remember something. You were not born to consume. You were born to create, to endure, to grow. And in that remembering, you become free. But freedom doesn't feel good at first. It feels lonely. It feels quiet. It feels like withdrawal. Because once you stop chasing pleasure, your nervous system screams. It's been conditioned. trained like a dog to expect its treat. Scroll, snack, like, laugh, and buy. But now you're saying no. You're rewiring the impulse. And your brain doesn't like that. It panics. It rebels. It begs you to return to the feed, the noise, the comfort. But if you stay, if you breathe through the tension, a space opens. And in that space, you remember how to think. You remember how to feel something other than urgency, other than emptiness. You remember how to choose, not react, but choose. And that moment, that's the beginning of reclaiming your mind. But there's something even more dangerous than distraction. It's normalization. You start to believe that the noise is natural, that silence is strange, that restlessness is just who you are, not a symptom of something broken. You forget what real satisfaction feels like, because you've been chasing highs, not depth. And when you live this way long enough, you start mistaking anxiety for energy. You confuse stimulation with meaning. You think movement equals progress. But running on a treadmill doesn't take you anywhere. You're exhausted, not because you're doing too much, but because none of it nourishes you. And the worst part? You're told this is freedom, that you're choosing this. But choice without awareness is not freedom. It's automation. It's programming. And someone, somewhere, is profiting from your fatigue. Because tired people don't resist. Distracted people don't rebel. And emotionally dependent people don't ask dangerous questions. But what if you paused? What if, for once, you sat with the discomfort instead of numbing it? No video, no scroll, no sweet hit of dopamine. Just you and the silence. It won't feel good at first. Your body will fidget. Your brain will beg for stimulation. Your skin might crawl with restlessness. But if you stay, if you breathe through the noise inside, something strange begins to happen. You start to hear your own thoughts again. Not the ones marketed to you. Not the ones filtered through algorithms. But your own. They may be messy, uncomfortable, raw, but they're real. And that's the first sign. You're waking up. Because clarity doesn't come with more pleasure. It comes with less illusion. You've been conditioned to flinch at silence, to escape boredom like it's a threat, to treat every moment of stillness as something broken that needs fixing. But silence isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. In silence, your mind resets. In boredom, your imagination returns. In discomfort, you discover what actually matters. That's why the system wants to keep you stimulated. Not because it loves you, but because silence is dangerous. A quiet mind begins to question. A still soul begins to rebel. You start wondering, why am I really here? What am I chasing? And who benefits from this chase? The answers don't come fast. They're not supposed to. But when they arrive, they don't leave. And you'll never see the world the same way again. You begin to notice what was always hidden in plain sight. The pleasure wasn't free. It came at the cost of your clarity, your attention, your strength. You thought you were escaping pain, but you were trading it for numbness. You weren't living. You were sedating. And while you chased comfort, they built systems around your exhaustion, economies fueled by your distraction, a world where silence is rare, and reflection is radical. But something shifts. You stop scrolling. You sit with the ache. You feel the pull of your own thoughts, like a compass buried deep beneath noise. And there it is. Not a product, not a pill, not a performance, but purpose. Small, quiet, unmistakably yours. You see now, the system never needed chains. It just needed you to forget yourself, to forget the depth within discomfort, the wisdom hidden in silence, the power that grows in restraint. They sold you happiness, as sugar-coated anesthesia. They sold you comfort, so you'd never crave change. But now you crave something else. Not the next hit, not the next distraction, but truth. You begin to live deliberately. You delete the noise. You seek the stillness. You choose the path with resistance, because you finally understand. That's where freedom waits. Not in endless pleasure, but in meaningful pain. Not in conformity, but in clarity. And if this woke something inside you, don't run from it. Sit with it. Let it sharpen you. Then share it. Not for likes, but for liberation. Because someone out there is still scrolling, still sleeping, still believing the lie. And they deserve to wake up too. So do you.